Les plus grands sages disent que le vrai bonheur est dans l'équilibre. C'est peut-être la débilité, mais j'ai jamais voulu la vie tranquille de quiconque. Petit, j'avais pas trop sommeil. Mourir au sommet comme King Kong, le seul rêve qui compte. Mais pourquoi moi? Pourquoi je serais différent des autres? Mon seul don, c'est vouloir être différent des autres. Et pour ça, j'ai la rage de vaincre, la rage d'être le meilleur sur la page de fin. Si jamais ça marche, je pars plus comme une tache de vin. Oh, j'ai l'impression de m'entendre dans mes premiers morceaux, toujours à crier comme un connard morceau. Sauf que maintenant j'ai plus 19 ans, et je crois bien que les gens bizarres du showbiz disent que mes disques se vendent. Yes, concert complet dans toutes les villes de France. On était déjà passé par là en van. Sur scène je donne tout, j'en ai 2000 devant. Mais je suis toujours mal à l'aise quand je parle à un fan.
Hey guys, so this week, third Saturday of the month, so that means that it is time for us to dissect a song. I'm super excited about this one because I know that it's like December, and I'm sorry to disappoint if anyone thought that I was going to do a Christmas themed or holiday themed song. No. No, I actually had planned to do this particular song because one of my favorite French artists, he his birthday was this month, on the 4th. And to be honest with you, I fell in love with his music actually this year. I actually found his music on Spotify. I actually, by the time the quarantine started back in March, I actually got Spotify for the first time. I know I'm late to the Spotify game, but basically I found him, and then actually no, I found him in my daily mixes because I was like putting together like all these artists that I particularly listen to, because I was thinking maybe I should do Spotify because it'll find me artists that I like within my, because I was just looking for new recommendations, and I was like, I just want good recommendations. He popped up in my daily mix, and I was like, oh, like, it was the song Mille Degrés, which is on the same album that this song is on, and it came out like I believe in 2018. Then he did a re-edition of that came out last year, and it's so good. His music is so good. It's explicit. It's marked explicit because of the language, but the lyrics that he writes, like, for me to consider something good music, it's not just like it sounds good. It's a good beat, it sounds good. The person singing has a good voice. It's more of like the lyrics matters too. Like, it has to be a really well written song. And it's very relatable to me. And I feel like this song personally is very personal to me because when I heard the song, I thought, at first it made me want to sit in a dark room and kind of just listen to it because I just was really into it, in terms of the depth of the lyrics, because I felt like somebody gets it, because his music's very deep, or the song is very deep, and it literally, I felt like, I think he's been stalking me my whole life, because this song is just exemplifies how I felt growing up. So I'm gonna get to it. So the first part of the song is d'accord. Actually, so d'accord is actually a good word to know. If you want to say like okay, like d'accord, like okay, got it. You can also use it to agree with people. You can say je suis d'accord avec toi. Je ne suis pas d'accord avec vous. I agree with you. I don't agree with you. Depends on like if you use it formally or informally. It still relatively works. I am in accordance with you. Like, that is on accord. So think of it that way. The first line is les plus grands sages disent que le vrai bonheur est dans l'équilibre. So anytime you want to use like a superlative adjective, you would say le plus, like the more or the best. So it's like the biggest. So it's like the biggest sages say that the real happiness is in the balance. L'équilibre, think of it as balance, like equilibrium. So cognate there. C'est peut-être de la débilité, mais j'ai jamais voulu la vie tranquille de quiconque. So c'est peut-être, when you speak in a natural pace, letters get dropped off. So it's peut-être, which means maybe. It is maybe of the, it's maybe the disability, but or like Debilité, think of it as the opposite of ability. It's like ability is something that you were able to do in order to, like, I don't know, like whatever purpose it is. It's like ability. I have the ability or the power to do something, or like the manpower to do something. Debilité, think of it as the opposite. It's something that works against you. Like it could be used in a context of like mental disability. It could be used in stupidity. It could be nonsense. It could mean foolishness. In this context, because we're using it as a noun, it's basically like stupidity, like something that's just getting in the way. But I have never wanted the tranquil life. Notice in French, the adjectives come after the verb, or after the noun. Yeah, they come after the noun. And this, there's some exceptions, but basically most of the time, like non-permanent characteristics come after the noun. So the tranquil life of, I never wanted this. I have never wanted the tranquil life of some. Quiconque can mean like anybody, like no one in particular. It can also literally mean no one. So it's like he's saying that maybe it's a debility, but I have never wanted to live of the tranquil life of being a nobody, a person who just, like lives their life, they go to their jobs and they come home and they do whatever, and then they, he's saying that basically he's saying here is that I want to be, I have all these things stacked against me. I have this disability, like debilité, or whatnot, but I've never wanted to be anything less than great. Petit, j'avais pas trop sommeil, mourir au sommeil comme King Kong. Okay, so this is j'avais pas. So this is avoir conjugated in the imparfait context or tense. So it means like imparfait is something you want to use when you're talking about things in the past that were habitual. You have passé composé, which is like you're talking about events that happened one time in the past. Imparfait basically is when you're using that tense to talk about things that habitually happen, like if you're trying to say about age, like j'avais, quand j'avais 8 ans, like when I had 8 years of age. Like in French we talk about we have a certain number of years. We don't say we are a certain number of years. So basically that's a habitual, because for 365 days habitually you were 8 years old. So if that makes sense. So habitually as like I have not j'avais pas trop sommeil, I have not too much slept. Sommeil is kind of like slumber. So it's like I haven't slept too much. To die at the top like King Kong. So au sommet, think of it as like at the top, like a summit, like the summit of a mountain. So when he's saying he wants, like I have not slept too much to die at the top like King Kong. Okay. The seul rêve qui compte, mais pourquoi moi? The only dream that counts, but why me? Pourquoi je serai différent des autres? Why will I be different from the others? Mon seul don, c'est vouloir être différent des autres. My only gift. Don, you can actually use this like in a sense of like, it means like a gift. It can mean like a donation, like something that you're giving someone. If you're ever encountering like a charity, they may say something like faire un don s'il vous plaît, like make a donation please, so to say. So don, so when you see that, you'll know what that is. It is to be different from the others. My only gift, it is to want to be different from the others. Et pour ça, j'ai la rage de vaincre. And for that, I have the rage to vanquish or to defeat. It could also mean to overcome. It could mean to conquer. So it's like saying like I have the rage to just like conquer something. Like I'm gonna conquer. Who knows? Like la débilité that he mentions earlier in the second line. So it's like I have this rage. Like I have this burning desire. And then you have, then after that it says, la rage d'être le meilleur sur la page de fin, the rage to be the best. Meilleur, think of it as that's the superlative, you know how we say good, better, best. In French it would be bon, mieux, and meilleur. I have the rage to be the best on the page at the end. So, la page de fin, the page at the end. Si jamais ça marche, if never that works, think of it as if that never works. Ça marche literally means that that walks. So like it doesn't make sense when you translate it literally, but it figuratively, ça marche means it works. So like if you wanted to say your computer is not working, I mean you could say like l'ordinateur ne fonctionne pas, but you can also just say mon ordinateur ne marche pas. It doesn't walk. It's not working. Yeah. So if never that works, or if that never works, je parle plus comme une tache de vin. I part comes from like partir, so it can mean like to partir means like to leave or to go out. So like because there's like a song from La Fouine, he was like a French Moroccan rap artist. He has a song that's called Quand je partirai, Quand je partirai, which means when I leave, and the whole song is about when he leaves the earth, like when he dies. So you can say it's like if that never works, I leave more like une tache de vin. Une tache de vin, like une tache. Une tache I know means like a task of wine. So it's like a task, like a task of wine. I'm probably gonna just look that up really quick because yeah. So I'm gonna like basically that way. So I mean it's like, so I think it's like basically it's just like I don't know. I mean like it really doesn't like, I don't really see like a whole lot of like meaning. I know. Let's see. So context reverso has to say about that. Okay. Yeah, so apparently une tache de vin. So it basically like it literally means like a wine task. That's literally what I believe it means literally. And I think what it's really talking about is like it's like a wine stain or like a birthmark. So it's like if that doesn't work, I'm leaving more like a, you know, like a stain. I was just there. You know, you're just there. J'ai l'impression de m'entendre dans mes premiers morceaux. I have the impression to hear myself. M'entendre is like a reflexive verb, so to hear myself in my first pieces. Morceau, it's like a word that basically means like a masterpiece. So it's like you know, like when, I don't know, some artist or even a composer. Let's think about like Vivaldi, because I do like some of his songs. I do like many of his pieces. It's like the Four Seasons is son morceau. Those are his masterpieces. So morceau is just like any piece of art or a masterpiece, if that makes sense. Okay. And then so it's like I have the impression to hear myself in my first pieces. So it's like he's kind of reflecting on the first, you know, songs or so that he has written or he has produced. And then it says toujours à crier comme un canard mort seul. So it's like toujours basically means always, always crying, crier, crying, comme un connard morceau. So, connard means like it's like a bastard, or it can mean like an asshole. So it's like something like, it's common to call people that, like if you just have like, I don't know, like something, somebody does something and that was just like really awful, you can just kind of, it's a term that you can probably use to like call somebody if they do something awful and you just want to be explicit about it. Yeah. Yeah, so an asshole, dead. Mort is dead. And then let me look at this up. Okay, yeah. So it's like, I'm basically like, so it basically says, toujours à crier comme un canard morceau. Okay, so he basically says, I always crying like, always to cry like a drunk dead idiot. So, or bastard. So I think that's basically what he's giving us here. Yeah. And then after that it says, sauf que maintenant j'ai plus 19 ans. So except that now, maintenant, now, I have more than 19 years. So remember what I was saying? They say I have. So it's like I was listening to my old songs, and I have I have impression, of hearing myself in my first pieces, always crying like a drunk dead bastard. Except that now I'm more than 19 years old. So it's just basically saying, like, I'm still doing the same thing, except now I'm not 19 anymore. I have more than 19 years. Et je crois bien que les gens bizarres de showbiz disent que mes disques se vendent. Yes. So it says, and I believe, crois means I believe, I well believe, je crois bien. Anytime you want to say, like, you really like something, like, you can say, oh, j'aime bien, like, I really like that, like, I really, j'aime bien. Also, if you actually want to, I heard that, like, if you want to say that you love people, like someone, it would be like, je t'aime. But I heard that you can say, je t'aime bien, which means I like you. So it's like, kind of like, Paul Taylor, the comedian, he refers to j'aime bien as like the morning after pill. So like, he's like, yeah, it's like, if you're like, oh, I didn't mean to say, it's like, je t'aime bien, bien. Like, it's like, oh, okay, she didn't really respond well to me saying that I love her, so I'm just gonna say I like her. I'm gonna just put the bien to say, like, oh, I like you. So bien means like, oh yeah, I really like that. Je crois bien, I know well that these weird people, les gens bizarres, do of showbiz, showbiz, said that my disc, mes disques is like CDs or records. Mes disques se vendent. This is another reflexive verb. Se vendre means to sell oneself. Like think of it as like a vendor. Vendre. So it's like saying that my records or my discs were going to sell themselves. Yes. Concert complet dans toutes les villes de France. Complete concerts in all the cities of France. On était déjà passé par là en vain. Like, we were already passing by there, par là, en vain. Anytime you want to talk about transportation, you can say, like, en vain. Like, if you're trying to say, like, by, like, we're going to, je vais aux États-Unis, en avion. Like, I'm going to the United States by airplane, So anytime you're trying to talk about like your method of transportation, you can typically use en, like en van, like in a van. Yeah, or a people carrier. That's basically the definition. Then it says, sur scène, je donne tout. J'en ai 2000 devant. On scene, I give. Remember, don, like we talked about with gift, this is the verb donner, which means to give. I give all. Tout can actually mean like all. It can mean everything. It can mean like everyone. Like when people say bonjour à tous, à tout, it means like hello everyone. So it can mean all. It's inclusive. It doesn't have to be like a person. It can be an object. It's just everything. So in this context, is I give everything. J'en ai 2000 devant. Like I have it 2000 before. So it's like I give my everything like I have 2000 times before. That's basically what he's saying, or in terms of translation. And then it says, mais je suis toujours mal à l'aise quand je parle à un fan. It says, but I am always bad. Mal is an adverb. So it basically means like badly. So like if you wanted to say it in an adjective form, like that person is bad, you would just use mauvais or mauvaise if it's a feminine object or person. But basically, yeah, mal means it's like I am always bad at the there's a phrase, it's called à l'aise dans ses baskets. It basically means like to be comfortable in one's skin. It could mean like to be in your element. But basically in this context, mal à l'aise, it means like to be uncomfortable, or just is like he's just not confident. So it's basically saying I'm always really uncomfortable when I speak, quand je parle, à une fan. I'm very uncomfortable. I'm not in my, not very comfortable in my own skin when I speak to a fan. So, it's like I give my everything on stage, but then when I talk to fans, I'm like, and then in the refrain, which is coming up, he basically says this, and then, which I really like, it says, Évidemment que je veux briller comme l'or. Obviously, or evidently, that I want to shine like gold. Sometimes, like in French, you actually have to put the article in front. There has to be an article in front of a noun. Anytime that there's no article, it's just kind of like, it's like really informal speak. So it's like comme l'or, which means like l'apostrophe. Yeah, so it means like I want to shine like the gold, but we don't say gold. In English, we don't need to put the article. We don't have that nonsense. We just say we want to shine like gold. J'ai passé ma vie invisible comme l'air. I have passed. Passé can basically mean like to spend time. Like it means like to spend an abstract thing. It's like, sometimes people will say to me, like I remember I had someone that I was texting at one point. She told me, she's a friend of mine in France when I was there. She said, as-tu passé un bon weekend? Have you passed a good weekend? Like, have you passed the time over the weekend well? Does that make sense? So, like, I have spent my life invisible like air. Okay, so, pourquoi vous voulez m'aimer maintenant? Why you want to love me now? Like, why? Why do you want to love me now? Pourquoi vous voulez m'aimer maintenant? Ouais, by the way, that is it's kind of like a lazy term of saying oui. We do this in English, when we say like yes, but instead of yes, we're like yeah. It means the same thing. It's just one is more lazier than the other. It's like if your friend says, hey, hey, you should text me. It's like, oh yeah. We don't say, oh yes, I will text you. No, we're more inclined to say, yeah, I'll text you. Yeah. So think of it that way. Ouais. Des millions d'heures seuls dans le noir, of millions of hours alone in the black. Dieu merci, j'ai enfin confiance en moi. God, thank you, I have finally confidence in myself. Another thing is that anytime you want to say that you have confidence, it would be confiance, la confiance. Anytime you want to say you trust, like you have trust, la confiance. Because it's the same thing. When you think about it, confidence, like anytime you say like you trust someone, that is having confidence in someone. Anytime you say you have confidence in yourself, that means you trust in yourself. You know, if that makes sense. So if you want to say like I trust you, you could say j'ai confiance en toi. I have confidence in you. That's the same thing. If you wanted to say like I'm confident in you, I trust you, j'ai confiance en toi, or j'ai confiance en vous in formal context. It means literally the same thing. Yeah. And then, yeah. And then he repeats it. He says, pourquoi vous voulez m'aimer maintenant? Why would you want to love me now? C'est plus à rien de m'aimer maintenant. Ser comes from servir, which is a verb that basically means to serve. So basically in this context, it's like to serve, plus à rien, serve more to nothing. So that means it doesn't serve anything. C'est plus rien de m'aimer maintenant, it means it no longer serves a purpose to love me now. And it's kind of depressing listening to that, you know, I mean, to some other people, but to me, that's relatable because I get it. So, yeah. And then the second verse says, so the second verse goes on to say, seul à 3 heures du mat, dans un bar, on peut reconnaître Pal. Seul basically means, like we heard this a little bit before, in the first part. Alone, seul can mean like only, but it can mean alone. Alone at 3 hours of the mat. Du mat, this is like saying matin, except like I was saying, when speech is like spoken naturally at a quicker pace, certain letters get dropped off. So it's, instead of saying du matin, he said du mat, same thing. In a bar, on peut, I think I might have mentioned this in maybe a couple of other videos, but on peut, we use that instead of saying nous pouvons. Like instead of saying we can, we would just say one can. On peut reconnaître Pal. One can recognize Pal. Pal, I know that's a phrase that he uses to, it's a name that he used to like refer, because his stage name is Lomepal. So a lot of times you might hear him say Pal, or he might be referenced to Pal. So he actually has a song called Pal Pal from his last album, the album that came before this, the one that this song is on. Yeah, and but yeah, so it's basically, it means we can recognize. Reconnaître means to recognize, but if you take the re off of it, connaître means to be familiar with. So reconnaître is like to re-familiarize yourself with something, recognizing. It says, sur ma poitrine, c'est plus froid qu'en Islande. Under my chest, ma poitrine, c'est plus froid qu'en Islande. It is more cold. Anytime you want to say something comparatively, you would just use it kind of like parentheses. You would say plus, or you can say moins if you're saying less than. But in this context, it's plus froid. Froid means cold, and then you put que. More cold than. It's colder than Iceland. So under my chest, it's colder than Iceland. Qu'en Islande. Than in Islande. Islande is feminine, I believe. So you would use en as a way of saying in or at. If it's masculine, then it would be like oh or something like that. Yeah. And then it says, dans mon caleçon, c'est plus chaud qu'au Népal. This is what I was talking about, masculine countries. So it says, in my dans mon caleçon, like boxers or shorts. It can mean trunks. Same thing. Yeah, in my shorts or boxers or trunks, it's hotter than in Nepal. So it's like under my chest, it's colder than Iceland. And while I'm in my boxers, I am hotter. I'm hotter than Nepal. Yeah. That's a very interesting like contrast there. Yeah. Je fais de déconner pardon chaque semaine. Je fais que déconner means like I'm just kidding around. Sorry. So déconner actually means like to act like an idiot. Déconner can also mean mess around, act up, joke. And there's another song on this album that he wrote. It's called Mom, which is basically about being a kid. It's like the Peter Pan effect, you know? Because I think he was like 27-ish when this song came out. Yeah, and basically, yeah. So it's basically, I'm kidding around. Pardon. Pardon can mean like, excuse me. It can mean like, pardon me. It can mean sorry. Like, pardon. Chaque semaine, each week. Or like each week. Actually, no. Chaque means every week. And then chacun chacun means like each. So it's the same thing, each and every, synonym. So it's like basically I'm just kidding around, sorry, pardon me, every week. Je couche avec une nouvelle fille que je connais pas. I sleep with a new girl that I don't know. Like I'm kidding around, basically, but I'm sleeping with a new person that I don't know, you know. Est-ce que j'essaie de me venger de toutes ces années? And it says, est-ce que is like another, it's like a way of beginning a question. You could say like do or does, you know, like when we're saying like do you or does this. So est-ce que is something that you can use to start a question using that. It says like, do I try to venge myself of all these years? So it's kind of like venger it means literally like, think of like revenge, venge. I will have vengeance. Same context. Où je plaisais moins aux filles que les mecs dérangés. Where I pleased. This is also imparfait, like habitual things that happened in the past. I please less of the girls that than the deranged men. It's like I have pleased people. I've pleased less girls than I have deranged men. So I've been like, it's like, I think it can mean like I've like people pleasing. It's like I pleased so many people more than I think it's like a metaphor, so almost like it's like I've pleased more deranged people than I have women, you know. Because people do that all the time with like the metaphors or like the similes, bringing up English terms here. And then also it's like then he says, où je me sentais partout étranger, where I feel myself, reflexive verb, in the imparfait conjugation, where I feel myself partout, everywhere, étranger. Étranger, think of it as the same thing as stranger. So it's like, you know, I feel like I'm a stranger everywhere. Je me sens. Sentir can basically mean to sense. Sentir by itself can mean like to smell. It can mean to taste something, to feel something, like with the senses. So that's basically where sentir comes from. And then, so I sense myself, me sentir or se sentir, like the reflexive verb means like I'm feeling, I'm sensing, my senses are tingling. I'm feeling like a stranger everywhere. Où je surveille car mourir le ego quand ces pétasses jouer, where I serve that, where I have served that to feed their egos, like where I served to feed their egos when these but it's like slang for like, and I looked this up because I'm not familiar with this is a colloquial dialogue, like slang. It means like it says tarts, sluts, or floozy. So it's basically like he's basically saying like I have served, not like I have served to feed their egos, when these frivolous women play. So it's kind of like, I don't know really how to explain the context of this because I'm not the person who wrote it. So obviously Lomepal will probably have his own reasons for writing that, but I'm here to just translating context. Yeah. And then it says, aujourd'hui c'est moi qui monte les étages où elle. Today it is me that monte is kind of like a montrer, like monter, which means like to mount, monter, like mount les étages où elle. It's like it's me that mounts these étages, like steps, like it's me that steps up, or them. And then he says elle, this is the plural form. We also don't pronounce the last letter, so that also gets confused with the singular form elle, which means she. But this is basically, you're talking about a group of women. So he's talking about whoever these groups of females. Because if it was like a bunch of guys, or if it was like a mixed group of guys and girls, then you would probably in this say like me or them. And then it says bon d'accord. J'étais consentant quand je rentrais dans la spirale. It says good to agree. Like, remember what I said, d'accord, like good agreement. Bon d'accord, like good in alignment, good, okay. I was consenting, or I was willing. Think of the cognate for like consentence, like consenting. We use that in the sense in the English is in the sense of adult consent, but in this context it means willing. It says I was willing when I returned in their spiral, like when I came back into their spiral. Rentrer, like I came back into that spiral. C'est toujours mieux que d'être invisible. It was always better to be invisible. Maintenant, je ressens plus rien, je m'intéresse plus qu'à leur physique. Now I feel, so remember we were talking about sentir basically means like to feel or to sense, or like to like you're sensing something. Ressentir means like to sit in a feeling. So it's like I feel like, it says je ressens plus rien, I feel more nothing. Like I feel more like nothing. So it's like that's a feeling. Like I feel that like as an emotion, like loneliness. I feel like I'm nothing. Where sensing, like sentir is more like sensing, like intuition, like your surrounding, your senses, that kind of thing. Je m'intéresse plus qu'à leur physique. I interest myself more than to their physique. I'm interested more than in their physical. Does that make sense? It's like I just don't. It's like I'm beyond the physical. I'm beyond. It's like saying like, it says like I sleep with a new girl that I don't know, and then it's like avenging myself for all these years. So there's something that's happening. There's something that is bothering him from the past. For toutes ces années. And then he's like, I feel like a stranger everywhere, and I'm just thinking I'm beyond the physical. So if that makes sense, I'm just past it. It's like sleeping with people. It's just not, it's not fulfilling. It says, et tous les soirs le diable me rend visite, and all the evenings. So anytime you want to say every day, typically people would say tous les jours, like all the days. Tous les soirs means like all the evenings. So you can say every evening the devil visits me. Rend visite, like he comes back to visit. So every night the devil is just always coming back to visit me. Le diable. Fini les grosses garces trop fausses gamines, j'étais tellement bête. Finishing the fat, grosse can mean like fat or like big, as in like, because grand means like big as in like tall or something like that, like physical characteristic in that sense. Gross means literally like fat. So basically he's saying the fat Okay, garce is another slang term for pétasse, which we talked about earlier. Vulgar term that, or not a very nice term for a female, yeah, so to say. A very frivolous person, very frivolous female. Finishing that, yeah, trop fausse gamine, too false. Gamin, yeah, gamin means like child, kid. It can mean like childish, like these finishing the fat, frivolous women, yeah, too false, too many false children. So it's like it's just too much childish people. I was so silly. Bets can mean silly, it can mean stupid. Yeah. So yeah. And then je veux un Oscar, Oscar pour chaque film que je me suis fait dans la tête. Merde. I want an Oscar for every film that I'm making, that I have made in my head. Je fais dans la tête. And then merde, most people know what that is. It means shit. It's like in this term that he uses it, the way that he uses it in the song, it's more like dang, like, you know, it's kind of like, I can't believe that. You know, kind of like one of those things, like, avant j'étais un peu froid, maintenant je le suis complètement. Before I was a little bit cold, un peu froid, un peu, a little bit cold. Maintenant je le suis complètement. It means now I am that completely. In French, whenever we have like a le there, like when we use it as a subject, as a substitute for the subject that we were talking about. Like we were talking about, I am a little bit cold, a little cold. So basically, le is in place of that. So it's like I was a little bit cold before, but now I'm completely. And then it says, c'est trop tard pour combler le manque. It basically means it is too late. Think of tard as like tardy. You know, when when you show up to class late, and you know, like when you show up to class late and your teacher is like, "Oh, you're so tardy." Tard. Or you can say au retard, which means like you are late. Like you can say je suis au retard. I am late. I am at the late. So it's like I am late, basically. Yeah. So it's like it's too late to combler le manque, which basically means it's too late to make up for my shortcomings. It's too late to change, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it's basically like combler basically means to attempt to make up for, or it can mean to overcome. Like it's too late to overcome that, or the lack of what I don't have. Le manque basically means like something that's missing, lack, in the noun sense. So I think like it's kind of like when we say that we miss someone, you would say tu me manques, like you make me miss you. So think of it that way. And then yeah, so it's basically, it's just saying like it's too late to turn back. Like there's really no going back from here. And then it goes into that chorus or refrain, and that's basically the end of the song. So yeah, it's pretty much shorter than last week. But as like a quick analysis of this, is that one of the things that I love this song, I know for some people it might sound like a very depressing song, you know, because it's about feeling like nothing, you know, having this sort of like mentality of like, you know, I have this debilité, but like I just don't, I have this debilité, but I don't want to be this, you know, I don't want to live a quiet life, you know, if that makes sense. And the thing that is that I'm not trying to make this like a big piece, PTA, but I do want to be a little bit more vulnerable with you guys in the sense, because I'm human, and you know, obviously I just dissected this song, The reason why I love this song so much is because it really relates to me on a personal level, because a lot of things that are said in this song that jump out to me is like when he says like c'est peut-être de la débilité, mais j'ai jamais voulu la vie tranquille de quiconque. It's like, I understand that. I have never wanted, for me, and one of the reasons why I do this as well as with my organization, is I've never wanted to be ordinary, because I've always been made to feel like I was different from everyone else, not in a good way. In good and bad ways. I've had people in my life that told me not to be like everyone else, and then I've had people where they've treated me terribly because of certain, of certain way, because of certain ways that I've been treated, because of my personality, because of whatever reason. And it says like, when he says like la rage de vaincre, like that's normal for any successful person, is going to have rage of like feeling like this burning desire to do something significant. No one, I mean, to be honest with you, anyone who wants to do, any successful person who has become successful, they've done so because they don't want to live ordinary lives. Do you think Bill Gates wanted to live a life when right now with what he does with vaccines and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and, Microsoft, I don't think he wouldn't have accomplished all that he's accomplished if he just wanted to live the normal life. He wouldn't have done it. There's a rage of wanting to make a difference. There's a rage of wanting to be great. Then there's a part where, he says, évidemment que je veux briller comme l'or, j'ai passé ma vie invisible comme l'air. I relate to that because I lived that, being vulnerable, because we're all human, is that I lived my life feeling like I was nothing. So like when he says things like, c'est plus rien de m'aimer maintenant, like there's no purpose in loving me now, or why do you love, because I grew up feeling like I was nothing, because I had, like, in middle school, like early, like late elementary school, middle school, I was isolated from my peer groups, because literally, like, I was used to, going to lunch and, thinking like, oh, I'm going to sit with my friends, and then I come back from the lunch line and literally like all my stuff was moved to the end. And then I remember moments where, people would say certain things and they would act like my friends, but then they would say something completely different. I remember when I was in middle school, I really wanted to fit in. And so I remember someone gave me a nickname, and I'm not going to say what it is because it's really inappropriate, but I didn't know what it meant at the time. And then later on, I thought, whoa, or where people make sarcastic things where they're like trying to like seem like they're being nice to you, but then they're like making comments that are very much implied about something else that they're trying to make fun of you for. Or, I literally had people tell me, like I had someone literally, I don't know what I did to them, but I remember one time someone hit me in the face with a lunchbox. Like, actually, no, he pushed me into someone and then hit me and this person by reaction, like hit me in the face with a lunchbox. And then one time he told me that he said something and he's like, you stupid freak, or something like that. And I was just like, I don't even know to this day what it was that pissed him off so bad, because like every time I was around, like, I don't know what it was, but he just didn't like me. And for some reason I was just like, I don't really know what the problem is, whatever. But he just still kept going out of his way to do certain things or say certain things, and I never understood why. Even when there were instances where I had people telling me to die, like to kill myself. By grace of God, I got out of a situation that, would have, made that happen. I've had people tell me that nobody likes me. People told me on multiple occasions that my parents didn't love me. And at the time I was, going through my rebellious teen, like when you go into adolescent phase, you kind of just start rebelling. And, my parents and I, particularly my mom, we were arguing all the time because, it's normal. You grow up, you get rebellious, you do things, and it just is part of life. We all fight with our parents on something. So I actually believed it because of what was going on. And I literally don't remember anyone who actually, cared enough to invite me to do things, or I never had any close friends or anyone that I would consider a real friend. And then through high school, it was just the same thing. And And I have had issues where people just don't take me seriously because I do love to laugh a lot. I love to make jokes. I would say it's a reflex of mine. When things are uncomfortable, I laugh, or it's just part of who I am. And I'm also a highly sensitive person. So I don't know, there's just certain things that especially as an introvert. So I'm just thinking, like, I got used to being by myself. And then when I got to college, I moved from Kentucky to California. I was in Los Angeles and I didn't know anybody there. So I was like, it's a complete clean slate. And I was just remember thinking, wait, you're inviting me to something? Like, it's like straight up imposter syndrome, where it's like, wait, you're talking about me? You like hanging out with me? You can't be talking to me. You can't be talking about me. I remember at church, we had like this, like, every second Sunday of the month, we would have volunteer of the month. And I remember one time they like said, this is a volunteer honor moment. This is not volunteer of the month. This is volunteer honor moment. And I thought, they're describing the person. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Obviously that's not me. Whoever it is, they're probably really great. And then my name showed up on the screen and I said, what? It's like when you grow up being told you're nothing and you feel like nothing and you're used to being by yourself. Having friends is just really strange. Even to me, I'm comfortable being by myself. Even in my dating life, I know that, like, sometimes it's just like, I don't know why I'm saying all this, but it's basically, I don't know if this might help someone in some sense, is that I felt like, I'm like, you like me? Why would you want to do that? I can only imagine someone proposing to me. They're like, will you marry me? I'm like, why would you want to marry me? And like, what kind of question is that? I could just imagine that. But I felt like in my dating life, that was a big concern, because I'm just thinking, why would people want to like me? And I just say that's all to say is that people carry that. The experience, people believe the things that they believe because of life experiences that they've had. So like when it says here, it says, where is it? Est-ce que j'essaie de me venger de tous ces années, like to be vengeful, because people carry those experiences and people don't forget. Obviously words shouldn't carry a whole lot of weight. We should, like, I know that we should not give words power, especially when they come against us, but people don't understand, especially when they're at a young age, there's power in what words you say. Like, people carry that. Like, for me as a person, by the grace of God, I'm still here, but I know that there are some people who don't come back from suicidal attempts. There are people who didn't have someone who actually cared enough to call at a certain time, or, who didn't help you, that didn't help, them. I remember someone from my church who recently passed away. She was saying, I remember her saying to me a while ago, because she was an older lady. She said to me one day, years ago, it's like, I appreciate that someone like you speaks to people like me of my age, because most people your age don't want to talk to people my age. And I carried that because I know what that feels like, to feel like you're alone, to feel like no one cares, to feel like you're nothing. Not to say that she felt that way, but it's just that I know how that feels. So I always have to make sure that I don't want anyone else to feel that way. It just doesn't feel good when you're always feeling like you're in this sort of depressed mode. Even when he says, des millions d'heures seul dans le noir, 1,000,000 hours alone in the black. I get that. And I get that. So I'm just trying to say, if this is a person, I'm speaking to someone who may need to hear this, but it's just that I know what that feels like. It's not a good feeling, and words matter. People's experiences, you may not think about this, but how you treat people can really affect how people grow up, especially if they're really, really young, like children or middle school ages, where people are just trying to figure out who they are, and they're confronted with the fact that people are telling them these things, really horrible things. To be honest with you, as a 11-year-old kid, I would not wish on anybody, on my worst enemy, to be 11 years old developing and becoming, an adolescent, and hearing someone tell you you should kill yourself. That is not okay. And I'm hoping to speak to somebody who may need to hear this, but it is not okay, because people carry that. They carry that. For me, on a positive note, that's why I feel inclined to acknowledge people and make sure that no one feels like they're left out or anything like that. But at the same time, I feel like it's really important that it just matters. It matters how you treat people, because people will carry that and they won't forget. Especially if they're like me. My moon sign is in Scorpio. So Scorpios are known for jealousy and vengeance. So it's like we don't forget, and we carry that, and this kind of fuels like the success that we build. So a lot of times, I'm just saying that because I have to say that, because it's very, from someone has gone through, who's gone through recovering from a suicidal attempt or feeling that way. I'm not trying to, I'm just trying to be real. Obviously this is the song that I chose, and because it has such a big impact to me. So I don't mean to like make this all depressing, but it's just that I just want you guys to know that it carries. People carry those experiences, and that makes people who they are. That's why when he says c'est trop tard pour combler le manque, it's too late to change, because these are experiences after all these years have made me what I am. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope that this sort of PSA really resonates with someone who may need to hear this, or you can share this with someone who may need to hear it. But yeah, so this is my favorite song. Hope you guys enjoy it. Love you all.
C'est trop tard pour combler le manque.
Évidemment que je veux briller comme l'or. J'ai passé ma vie invisible comme l'air. Pourquoi vous voulez m'aimer maintenant? Pourquoi vous voulez m'aimer maintenant, ouais. Des millions d'heures seules dans le noir. Dieu merci, j'ai enfin confiance en moi. Pourquoi vous voulez m'aimer maintenant?
Sert plus à rien de m'aimer.